you just need to focus on 2 or 3 verticals to do really well.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the High Level Sales Sessions. Today, we're joined by Dan Wardrope, who is the founder and CEO of Flex Digital, and also the creator of Flexable, which is, I think, what we're going to be talking about today. Dan, thanks so much for joining.
No worries, mate. Nice to be here, Chase. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Flexable, tell me, is this a coaching program, a school? It looks like you guys have a pretty cool environment there from what I saw on the website.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. So I have a pay-per-lead agency that I've been kind of working on for the past 5 or 6 years. And it's gone from strength to strength. And a couple of years ago, I decided that, hang on, like, the world of lead generation is changing, and it looks like that there could be an opportunity to help people transition from selling retainer contracts and operating and selling in a certain way to moving to the pay per lead model, like my agency did. Because when I figured all that stuff out, the agency went from strength to strength. So about 2 years ago, we launched the Flexable program, which is it's been going pretty well. But so there's the agency, the lead generation agency, and everything that I learned from in there goes into the education program, which is Flexable.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about this. The pay per something model has always been so attractive, I think, in theory. And I've seen a lot of people take a shot at it. And then when I follow up with them, they're like, it just didn't work out. We always ended up into arguments about whether or not it was a qualified lead that we were delivering or whatnot. So I'm really curious to hear your take and what you're teaching when it comes to that model.
Okay. So to give those people that are listening an understanding of how it works, they might not have heard about it before. Let's say you land a client in, I don't know, say a life insurance client or something like that. They're actually used to buying leads in this day and age rather than having someone manage their advertising account. So what we do is we're able to generate a lead on Facebook or YouTube or the display network or Twitter or Taboola or whatever. And we might pay that ad network $15 or whatever it is per lead. And we sell for usually double that. That's the kind of benchmark that we need to look for. So if the client is looking for a couple of hundred leads a week and they're charging $30, that's $6,000 that you can charge that client, and the profit margin, the gross profit margin, should be about half that, or hopefully more than that. And that's really the model. It's a very simple, elegant model where the difference between what you get the lead for and what you sell them for is your profit margin. And if they don't like the leads, and if the leads aren't good quality, then they won't order again. But if they love it and you can build that relationship with them, then it turns out that they'll probably scale that to the moon if they can, because we all know that these clients are, leads. My saying is the leads are the lifeblood of any business, right? So if you can develop that relationship and figure out the vertical, then you can actually do very, very well very quickly with the pay per lead model.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about acquiring clients in a minute, but I think it's obviously a very attractive model to when you're selling it, right? Because it's way less of a commitment from them up front. It's like, all right, you're telling me I'm only have to pay you if you deliver? Well, that sounds good to me, right? So I think it's a very attractive model. What do you say to people who are just getting started? Because, all right, I'll give you a real world example. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and we were talking about their opportunity and how they wanted to use HighLevel. And I was like, oh, you have a great niche. You're going after auto dealerships because you could put a filter in there of a survey, right? To generate a bunch of leads and then make them go through a survey and have the dealerships tell you what qualifies a lead. And then that opens you up to this pay-per delivery model, and he's like, oh, I love that. But how do I know what to charge? And I'm like, well, you need time. You need to know confidently how much it's going to cost you to generate these leads, right? Because you're going to be the one putting up the spend.
Yeah.
And so how do you teach people who are just getting started?
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. And it's one that that we experienced when we first started getting involved in this industry. And the way that I always tell newbies or people that are starting to do this is to actually do what's called like a grandfather deal. Okay. And the way that we pitch that with our clients is to say to them, listen, we've got a load of experience over in this industry over here. We've been doing lead gen and we've been doing marketing for a long time, but we're thinking about attacking your industry. Okay. And we're looking for a couple, maybe 2 or 3 clients to put on what we call a grandfather deal. And that means that we don't get paid at all until you convert a client or convert a sale. Okay. And all you have to do is stump up the ad spend and we'll work for free until you make sales. We'll build your funnels. We'll build your, your landing pages, your thank you pages, your funnel, your surveys, all of that type of stuff. And we only get paid when a lead converts. And that's actually quite an attractive offer to a lot of businesses out there. And what happens then is you're kind of learning on other people's dime. You're starting to understand what works, what doesn't. You're building relationships. You're figuring out how much your lead costs are. If you're running traffic from different networks, you might find out which network is performing the best. And then what you can do with a couple of months worth of experience under your belt is move to their competitors and other people in the industry in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And that's generally the best way to get started, because if you don't know your cost per lead and you don't know about quality, then obviously inside my program I can help with that because I have a lot of experience. But if you're starting out from scratch, then it is tough, right? You need to have some experience, and that's why people listening to this right now, they might have experience in some industries, right? Running a retainer contract or something like that, which means they might be primed to start thinking about transitioning to the pay per lead model. And they're the kind of people who do the best.
That makes a ton of sense. And I think that would be an easy sell to like, hey, all you got to do is pay for your ad spend and we're going to do everything else for free. Yep. And then if you get results, you're going to pay us. That's smart. And then I like what you also said, if you work with somebody like you guys, I'm sure have worked in all sorts of industries, and you could say, look, you should be able to generate a Botox lead for X amount.
That much. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the beauty of my community is that there's, my agency alone, we're probably only in 3 or 4 verticals, right? Because that's the great thing about it. You don't need to try and have 300 different clients and in 30 different verticals, because that's just impossible, right? You just need to focus on 2 or 3 verticals to do really well. And inside my community, there's people that are in a whole lot of, a whole bunch of industries that I haven't even touched or never touched, but I've been able to see their journey and watch the way that they've kind of made it work. And they're actually helping each other, everyone else inside the group. So it's a nice little community for, the budding pay-per leaders, for sure.
So let's talk about how you get these clients. How do you teach people to get clients that will pay per lead or pay per booking or whatever it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's free ways to do it and there's paid ways to do it. But as you touched on before, it's pay per lead is an offer that, what I like to call an offer that converts, right? It's an offer that you can put in front of people. It's simple, it's elegant, and they either go, yeah, I'm interested in doing it, or I'm not really. It's very simple and easy. So actually getting clients is really the easy part in the pay per lead industry. It's the lead delivery and getting the lead cost down and the quality up and the volume up, which is more of the challenge. So as far as ways that we teach and the way that we've done it in the past is some cold email automation. So we'll scrape some email addresses and put them into a drip sequence with Mailshake or whatever, and be able to put that very specific offer in front of very specific business owners. So I don't know, to give you an example, maybe I don't know, like a home improvement. So a roofer, for example, then you'd want to say, listen, we're generating metal roofing leads for roofers in this area for this price, and call them out specifically within these emails, as opposed to someone that's just saying, okay, we'll help you with your roofing marketing or whatever. Okay. And once you put that offer in front of them and make it very specific, it usually opens the conversation. and then it's just a matter of closing them from there, using like the grandfather method I just told you about, or if you've got experience, just saying, listen, the leads are $75, we're good to go. This is what they convert at, and you can take it from there. So cold email works really well. Just kind of messaging people on LinkedIn and having conversations and trying to help people is powerful too. But if you really want to supercharge it, then you need to start looking at paid ads. I mean, we've like just in the last 2 months, actually, we've added to my own agency about $40,000 a week in additional leads just from simple Facebook ads pointing to a survey funnel on a page. Because, you know, the thing that always baffles me as agency owners with all of these skills, on all of these abilities to be able to write good copy and create good funnels and write good ads, all that type of stuff, we're always very hesitant to be able to sell our own services using paid traffic for some reason, right? It's just like a blue ocean out there. There's no one really doing it properly. So I think if you know, there's free ways of doing it. The offer is very strong, so you can get started for free very easily. But if you really want to supercharge, then starting to spend some money on Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever is quite powerful too.
Yeah, I really like what you said. I mean, 100%, I could see how this model would play so much more effectively in cold outreach than the traditional model. Because if somebody sees, like, if I'm a chiropractor and I get an email and it's like, would $25, decompression leads be attractive to you or whatever, once you put that figure out there, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm paying this guy $2,000 a month. And whether they come through or not, like I could see how that would make cold outreach a lot easier.
It is, yeah. The problem is, sorry to jump in there, that some of these, I mean, chiropractors, for example, tend to operate in very small geographical areas. So they want to have people from their local area, and that makes lead generation really difficult.
Gotcha.
So you want to be going after some kind of B2C or B2B industries where there's quite a large audience and there's people that are willing to buy leads from different parts of the country, or at the very minimum statewide. That's usually
what are some of your favorites? Could you give us some examples of what you like?
So I mean, you've probably seen or heard of a lot of them out there, right? Like there's obviously the solar and the roofing, and then you've got debt consolidation, the life insurance, and there's maybe 10 or 20 different life insurance sub niches within that one niche. And then you're looking at all the home improvement stuff, HVAC. What else are the guys into? We like to call them the money for jam industries. So these are the industries where people kind of get something for nothing. So in America, there's a lot of kind of mass tort cases out there, right? Where people are owed money for being for medical negligence or something like that. So personal injury is obviously another huge one, which is very, very big. Over here in the UK, there's a lot of financial mis-selling. So people have been mis-sold protection on their credit cards. They've been mis-sold their pensions by the banks. The banks have just like been pulling the wool over consumers' eyes for a very long time. So they're excellent industries because people, there's no barrier, right? They're very willing to put their details into a landing page or a survey funnel because they haven't got anything to lose, right? They're not being sold anything. They either get a few $1,000 back or they don't. And that's they're genius industries, really.
That's interesting. And so I'm sure, like Flexable, do you guys have a big list of industries where there are players in there and it's like, all right, what's your area? Oh yeah, like that looks like there's nobody really doing in that area. If you want to start focusing on solar leads in that area, you could easily sell them to this company over here. We have a list of what we call booming industries, and there's even been students that have come on post-COVID. One guy in particular went from 0 to 150,000 a month in post-COVID in the mortgage refinancing industry. So, people think these industries are dead and they're not growing, but
in my opinion, these companies have to find a way to survive, right? They don't have the luxury of us marketers being able to move from vertical to vertical, right? They either make it work or they die. So there is lots of like sub niches and things popping up, which are quite, you know, that are honestly booming at the moment. So there's so much opportunity out there. It's
Yeah,
not
you
fun.
just made me think of student loan refinancing is probably a good one.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And like
solar you
stuff like,
mentioned.
yeah, solar stuff like over here in the UK, like, you know, B2B. I don't know how many businesses there are, and how many people in America, 300 million or something, right?
I
Something
don't
like
even
that.
know.
Yeah, so there might be 300 million people in America. There's probably 50 million businesses out there, whatever. There might, I'm just guessing, but there's probably something like that. So each of those businesses are looking for ways to save tax, or they're looking for tax mitigation, or they're looking for, you know, over here in the UK, they call it a research and development grant. So any agency like us, for example, that are investing in a program like Flexable, are able to claim back some money from the government because we're investing in technology and building something, right? And not many people know this. It's like, again, it's like free money. So if we're able to build a funnel in the R&D space and drive traffic to that and say digital agency owners are due back chunks of cash from the government, then it's a pretty easy lead generation offer, isn't it? And there's just so many of them out there. It's you know, we're just scratching the surface.
So that's really eye-opening, because I came into this conversation thinking, okay, just change the model for your existing niche or whatever. But this is really like the name of the game is getting in the right niche where this model is the model they prefer.
Yeah, that's right. These people don't want to pay some AdWords agency to manage their Google AdWords, right? They just want leads. And the way that we measure that is, let's say a closed lead for one of these R&D clients is worth $5,000, okay, which is probably about right. They're probably willing to, if they convert 10% of those leads, let's say you could probably charge $100 a lead, right? Because if they buy 100 leads, it's costing them $10,000, and they convert 10 cases out of those 100 leads, which means that they've bought in how much revenue? 10 times 5 is 50,000 from $10,000 spend. They're getting a five times return on investment on the lead generation costs by paying us that $10,000. And if we're generating those leads for $50, then
50 or less,
then we're doing pretty well out of that too. So it's just a numbers game, and if it works for the client, they'll scale to the moon. They really will.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And so then where do you go from there? We talked about branding a little bit before we hopped on. How does that play into what you guys are teaching?
So building a brand is interesting, right? So the way that we've been going back and forth in the last kind of 15 minutes is what I like to call one-to-one lead generation. So we'll use, you know, you could use Go HighLevel, or you could use something like Unbounce or ClickFunnels, and attach a funnel to a client's website and be able to drive traffic to that funnel and generate the leads there. It means you control the landing page, you control all the assets, and you don't have some IT department like messing stuff up. So you can generate those 100 leads I was talking about relatively easily, but you're limited by the, you know, how many leads the client wants to order, right? And if you want to land other clients in that industry, then you have to open up a new advertising account, and you have to go through the whole process again, and it becomes, you know, not too much of a ball ache, but it can be a little bit complicated to manage all of these things going on at once, all of these moving parts. But what, you know, what we learned is that in some industries, you can build what's called a brand, right? So you can buy a URL, you know, best R&D development grants or something like that. And you can build like essentially a comparison type website, and then drive traffic to a funnel that sits behind that pretty website, and then distribute the leads to multiple buyers that want different criteria as well at different prices. And that way you can have one advertising account pointing to one funnel, and then have 20 or 30 clients from that one funnel and that one advertising account, which means that you can save a lot of time, and really, it's just an awesome model if you can get it dialed in.
And do you guys go into the world of SEO? Because I know if you can set up a site in one of these industries that organically generates the leads, it's like a cash machine, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the next thing. If you want to build an asset that you can sell for millions of dollars down the line, then this is how you do it, right? Yes, and we do. Like, we have SEO people in my team, and we do invest in SEO in our brands, but that's a slow burner, right? It's going to probably pay off in a year or two's time. But if there's any SEOs listening to this call right now, I mean, it's kind of like the old rank and rent method. Rank and rent, is that what they used to call it? We used to try and build buy a URL called plumbers in Utah or something like that, and used to try and rank for those quickly and black hat. This is essentially the same model, but supercharged with paid traffic. Honestly, it's very exciting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Back at the agency that I used to work at, we were really strong. Our SEO team was really strong, and we like ran an experiment for a client where we built a website that focused on one specific service targeting the entire state. Yeah. And we got it ranking in like 4 months, and it was just generating like 100 leads a day for this client. And we were like, man, we were really stupid about this deal. Like, the client owns the site, he paid for it. We should have done it for free, and we could be selling these leads to all sorts of people within the state.
And they're the best leads. Organic leads are the best type of leads because they're not paid. Like, search leads are kind of the second best, and then organic leads are even better than that because people are savvy about the ads, and then they go to the ones that are ranking. So they're the best leads you can get.
I bet.
And if you've got SEO skills, then it's it just adds to the model, really, for sure.
This is really interesting because if you get it working, I feel like if you could dial it in, you're opening up a ton of time for yourself. You're dodging a lot of headaches that you can run into in the typical model. So if people are listening and they're like, this sounds really interesting, I want to know some more, where should they go, Dan? Where can they go to find out more about you and what you're teaching in the program?
So go over to flexable.com. Actually, let me see if I can find. So flexable.com, FLEXXABLE, flexable.com. And I mean, can I see if I can find I should have had this prepared before. Sorry, Chase, but let me see if I can find a link to the case study, which explains a little bit more about how it works.
Okay, cool. I'm going to throw the link to Flexable in the Facebook comments there.
Yeah. So there's a case study landing page here. It's like a typical, let me see if I can put it into the chat for you, Chase.
Okay, cool. And I'll pass it along.
Yeah. So
great, got it.
They have to opt in to get access to the training, but that's free training. It lasts for about 25 minutes. And it kind of explains what we've just gone on about here for the last 20 minutes or so.
Awesome.
But in a bit more detail.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again for hanging out, Dan. I mean, this is really eye-opening. I thought, I had no idea where this was going to go, and now it got me really intrigued. So super cool.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of an underground world that not many people know about. We're trying to spread the word. There's no other like pay-per-lead training on this planet, from what I can tell.
I bet.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. I know you stayed up late for this. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. We will see you in the next episode.
Cheers, Chase. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Bye.